When Israelis go to the polls April 9th to elect the 21st Knesset, they won't technically cast votes for Benjamin Netanyahu, Benny Gantz, Yair Lapid, Aryeh Deri, or anyone else. That's because Israelis cast ballots for political party lists and only indirectly support the individuals on them. Israel uses a parliamentary system with proportional representation. By contrast, the United States is a presidential system and has direct election of congressional representatives. How does that work in Israel? The Knesset, Israel's parliament, has 120 seats. Suppose there were 120,000 voters in Israel. In that hypothetical situation, a party would earn one representative in parliament for every 1,000 votes it received. If a party won 25,000 votes, it would receive 25 seats. 45,000 votes would be worth 45 seats, and so on. As in the United States, elections in Israel operate on the democratic principle of one person, one vote for all citizens 18 or older, regardless of sex, ethnicity, or religion. Muslim and Christian citizens of Israel have the same voting rights as Jewish citizens. On Election Day, a national holiday, each Israeli voter selects a paper ballot representing one party, seals the ballot in an envelope, and drops it into a box. The votes are hand-counted. There is no absentee voting, so Israelis living overseas must fly home to vote in person. The entire population of 9 million forms a single electoral constituency represented by all 120 Knesset members. By contrast, the United States has 435 congressional districts, each of which elects one House member to represent an average of 780,000 people. Israel has been a single nationwide district since the first Knesset election in January 1949. When the War of Independence and fluid borders made it difficult, if not impossible, to carve out electoral districts. The 1958 Basic Law of the Knesset, the first of a dozen basic laws enacted by Israel in lieu of a constitution, made the single district system permanent. That basic law also ensured the continuation of proportional representation, a concept in use since modern Zionism began in the late 19th century. Political parties earn Knesset seats based on the number of votes they receive, as long as the total passes a threshold of 3.25% of the ballots cast. The threshold has increased several times from 0.83% for the first Knesset, but it is still lower than the 5% that is most common in proportional systems. Because any party that receives at least 3.25% of the votes gains representation in the Knesset, multiple parties split the 120 seats each election, including parties with narrow interests. Politicians don't feel the need to join one of the two historically dominant parties, as most do in the United States. Instead, some individuals choose to create parties that they can lead themselves and whose policies they can shape. The parties submit lists of their candidates in priority order, meaning that if a party earns 10 seats when the election results are posted, those seats go to the first 10 candidates on the list. Some parties now follow the U.S. example and hold primaries to select most of their candidates. Other parties let their leaders set their lists or use special committees. Sometimes parties partner up before an election to present a single list, whether to increase their chance to lead the government, as when Labor and Hatnua formed the Zionist Union in 2015, or to ensure that they surpassed the 3.25% threshold, as when Arab parties created the Joint List in 2015. The parties have to make such agreements before the deadline for submitting their candidate lists, approximately 55 days before an election. Even with combined lists, Israelis had 25 party options at their polling places in 2015, when 10 lists representing 16 parties and merged groups received enough votes to claim Knesset seats. Likud won the most seats with 30, while Meretz had the fewest with 5. The deadline for filing 2019 party lists was February 21st. The second and third largest lists in 2015, the Labor-led Zionist Union and Joint List of Arab parties, are not returning for the 2019 election because the parties could not renew their agreements. Still, 47 lists are on the ballot April 9th, topping the record of 34 lists in 2013. Look for our next Israel on Board video for details on how the election results produce a government. Meanwhile, see the following links for more information.